decal work was completed on the model. It was covered with a satin clear coat in an acrylic, then mixed up a lighter shade of the base color and started applying random wear spots on the model, knocking it back a little bit here and there, just going around the model looking for areas that would naturally be scratched and chipped and worn. And this was done just in an overall over the entire model in different areas. I then mixed up a darker rusty type color, again in the acrylics. These are all using the Model Master Acryl range of paints, and it was thinned down a little bit, and I went back over these lighter areas and tried to stay inside, exposing some of the light area around the scratches to give it just a sort of a layered, worn effect. Again, just trying to concentrate on areas that would naturally be chipped and worn. Every now and then I just kind of would step back and look at the model overall and just try to get didn't want to go too far with it, but yet give it a fair amount of wear and dings and damage. In some cases I actually went over the decals themselves in order to give just give the appearance of wear through the decals as well. That way you don't have a highly damaged figure with pristine numberings and images on it. I use some of the lighter color to kind of go over edges of the decal to make it look as if it's worn through. And as you can see, it's got a pretty good amount. The grill there was, I put a wash in the grill of a lighter version of this color, just very light, just to bring out the grill detail. And then just continued around the model, just adding smaller and smaller little specks and chips. Now at this point I dispensed some paints onto a piece of cardboard from the tube. I'm using just an odorless paint thinner, diluted in a container, and then I picked up some white, blue, a brown, Payne's gray, an ochre, another brown shade, and then I've got an orange, lighter orange shade there. And I let them sit on the cardboard for a little while in order to soak out some of the linseed oil. That way they'll dry to a flat finish. And, so I took a little bit of the orange, as far as on the orange areas of the model, and I took some of that lighter orange color and made a very translucent mix to give the appearance of fading to the orange colors. And it's simply done by thinning down some of the orange and just randomly applying it to the higher areas that the sunlight would strike, try to make it look a little natural. Then I go back with the thinner and just sort of blend it in, just going back and forth. That's a nice thing about these oil paints, is that you can remove or add as you go, and you have plenty of working time. You can come back, an hour later and still be able to come back and blend as going along with the model. This is all very simple stuff and relaxing, and you really can't make any mistakes because it's easily removed. see the difference here between the two sides now, how it has more of a faded effect. Now I went into I mixed up a lighter shade again, this time with the oils, a lighter shade of the base color, and what I was wanting to achieve was a bleached and faded look to the upper surface of the figure. So I just mixed up this color and just started randomly blotching it onto the top of the figure. And then a flat brush was soaked in some thinner and then wiped down, and started blending this color in. And, you control the amount of blending by just how wet the brush is. Again, you can, I went back and was able to remove as much as I wanted to, and just sort of blended it all in, just trying to leave a gradual fading over the top, blending back into the base color as it go around the model. It just gives it an overall lighter, bleached sheen to the top of the model. It's all very subtle, but it does add up. And this type of effect was done over the entire model. There was the higher areas were given a little bit of a lighter bleaching, and then some of the darker areas were given a little bit of a darker fade. Now mixing up sort of a lighter rusty type color, as some of the the dark chipping areas were a little stark. So just went back, playing with some different colors and just adding a little more to the chipping areas, a little more to the general just wear, adding a little more color. And again, this is all blended and faded to give it just a very light general appearance of grime and wear, rust, a little variation in the colors. Going back and removing the majority of it. Less is more. I felt that little scratch on that arm there, the laser arm, was a little stark. So I went in and took a little of the gray close to the base color and kind of covered in a little bit of it. Knock it back a little bit. And again, mixing some of this little rusty color, and started adding a little bit of streaking, just a very minute amount. It's a small model, so streaking was kept to a minimum. I figure this guy is walking around no man's land, fairly active. There's not going to be a lot of opportunity for streaking to occur all over the model, as he's constantly moving around and going through brush and whatnot. So it was just very light. The effects were done very lightly, and occasionally I would pick out a little area here and there and add a little streak to it, such as this little chip right here. Just taking a small amount, just very tiny, and then taking the flat brush, the dampened flat brush, and knocking it back a little bit. And this was continued over the model, just different colors, different variations, just tiny amounts of shade and grime, and just knocking it back, just making it very subtle. Of course, in the back where the exhaust grill is there, I added some dinge, some darkness, from the exhaust smoke, and you can see the bleached appearance over the top, and pretty well called it done. I'm happy the way it came out. I also faded with the orange on the stripes as well on the side. Sort of in the higher area right there, I gave it a little bit of a lighter shade by applying some of that orange and brushing it back. So, you know, these oil paints are really handy for doing these types of things where you can actually fade colors separately. And I did that on the arms as well. But, you know, overall, didn't take long. It was very relaxing. It's an enjoyable break from building. Just get out the brushes and do a little bit of just experimentation. And as you can see, the oils dry back to a flat color due to the soaking the moisture out. And here's the finished model. Tried to keep the damage to a minimum. And overall great, just fun little models to do. These little 130, I believe they're 1/35 scale. And there's two of these that come in the Nutcracker kit. This is the Melusine. And of course I showed the Gustav earlier. I'll put both of them up on the turntable and just show the two final little figures that come in the kit. Of course, the next step will be actually building the kit itself. As always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next installment, which will be, I'll be taking my time on, but it'll be it's quite a large kit. I'll be adding some details and whatnot and just showing various bits of the assembly. So I hope you guys will stay tuned and find a little bit of enjoyment in seeing one of these things that go together. It'll be my first in the Maschinen Krieger vein of modeling. Thanks for watching.